segment addition postulate. In the most simple terms, what is the segment addition postulate? Little piece plus little piece equals the big piece. Yeah, little part plus little part equals the whole thing. That's what the segment addition postulate says. So today we're going to combine that with a little more information, new words, but hopefully you get this word and have heard it before. Midpoint. So we have the midpoint of a segment, excuse me, the midpoint. What do you think midpoint means? Middle, very good. It's the very middle. The midpoint of a segment is a point that divides the segment into two congruent segments. So in this particular picture, I want to talk about a little of the notation here. These two markings are called congruence markings. Okay, so that little dash and that little dash are congruent marks. All right, and they are telling me that little segment AB is exactly the same length as the segment BC. So those two segments, if they had measurements on them, they might both be 7 centimeters or 13 millimeters. Whatever they are, that one's 13 and so is that one. They're the same length. And so it turns out a line, a ray, or a segment that intersects another segment at its midpoint is said to bisect the segment and is called the segment bisector. So we have a point B. B is what we would call the midpoint, because if I have 13 millimeters to the left and 13 millimeters to the right, is it in the middle? Absolutely. That would be called the midpoint. So B is the midpoint. But right now we're looking at a line. Line L passes through the midpoint. So it turns out that in this diagram, line L can also be called the segment bisector. A bisector, if you think about the word bisect, bi means two, like a bicycle, 2 tires, okay? So it cuts it into 2 pieces, all right? 2 sections, thus bisect. Does that make sense to you? So bisect means that there are 2 equal sections. In the diagram to the left, B is the midpoint of segment AC. So segment AC, you'll notice segment AC starts at A, ends at C. It does not have arrows. So we call it a segment, and that's what matches our little symbol above. So segment AC, okay? And line L is a segment bisector of segment AC. So we can say line L bisects segment AC. Bisects means it cuts it into 2 sections, okay? B is called the midpoint, again, because it cuts the segment AC into 2 equal halves, okay? So all this is really good language. I love talking about the roots of words because I think it helps if you really think about bisect, 2 sections, okay? Okay, so now we're going to take all this information and put it together with our segment addition postulate. It says Q is the midpoint of segment PR. What does that mean if Q is the midpoint? It's the middle. Yeah, and if it's the middle, then I know that I have 2 congruent pieces, 2 congruent segments. What are my 2 congruent segments? PQ and QR. So what we're going to get good at here is practicing to make marks, okay? In geometry, it is so important to really study your pictures because we can learn so much from those pictures. So we're going to mark up these pictures, and what it says is that these two things are the same length. So I can do a lot here. Let's see. It wants us to find the value of x, and I need to write something. If these two segments are both the same length, they have different algebraic names, though. What are we going to do if I know that they're the same length? How do we set something up to figure out what x is? I need an equation. What if this was like, not this algebra stuff, but what if it was like 15? Okay. If QR was 15, what would PQ have to be? 15. Okay, now with that information, could we write an equation? What could we write? 7x minus 16 equals 15. Very good. We would say that they're equal to each other, right? Okay. But this one isn't 15. But these two pieces, these two segments, are still equal to each other. So what equation can we write? Yes, 7x minus 16 is equal to 4x plus 2. And that's because these two segments are marked as congruent. If segment PQ is congruent to segment QR, then their lengths equal each other. So we can write an equation that sets their lengths equal to each other. Of course, this is all in algebra. All right, so now we can solve. How should I solve this? Minus 4x. Okay, and then I'm also going to add 16. Yeah, I'm going to do, 2 steps in one here. I'm going to add 16 as well, just to get it cleaned up here. All right, so then I have 7x's minus 4x's is 3x's is equal to 6 and 2 is 18. What?
You added a 6 instead of 6.
Oh, I added a 6 instead of 16. I was like, what the heck here? Okay, so 18. Copy error. All right. And then we divide both sides by 3, and we get that x equals 6. And that's what we had to solve for. They wanted us to find the value of x. That is not the length of each segment, but it is the value that x is. Okay. So let's look at the next one. Number 9. Okay, again, good information here. H is the midpoint. If H is the midpoint, what does that mean? 2 halves. So GH, segment GH, is congruent to segment HI. Good. All right, if those two segments are equal, what can we say about their lengths? Oh, I said the answer. I hate when I say the answer. So those two parts are equal. What can we say about them? They are the same. So we can set them equal to each other. So 5x plus 2 is equal to 9x minus 10. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get x letters to the left. I like to do letters to the left. And I'm going to, so that one went away. And now I'm going to move my minus 2. There we go. Great. So 5x's minus 9x's is negative 4x, and negative 10 and a negative 2 is negative 12. And then we need to divide by negative 4. And so we solve for x, and we get x equals 3. Am I done? No, I am not done, because what does it want me to do? Find GH. I need to figure out the length of GH. GH is equal to 5x plus 2. And what do I need to do with my Put in the 3, plug it in, plug it in. Do you remember those? Do they still have those commercials for Glade plugins? No? Oh, so when I was, I don't know how old, but the commercials, the jingle was plug it in, plug it in. Okay, so 5 times 3 plus 2 gives me 17. And that is what we're looking for, the length of GH. So if GH is 17, what must HI be? Also 17. And why do we know that? Because they're congruent. Lovely. Very good. Okay. Number 10. Do we need to do number 10, or do you think you've got number 10? You got that? Okay, let's look at number 11. Let's look at number 11, because number 10 is exactly the same as above. Oh, not quite exactly the same, but it's very, very close. But let's look at this one. So it says G is the midpoint, so G is the middle of segment FH, and they tell me, oh, that FH is 6y minus 2 in length. Ooh, interesting. There are lots of ways to set up this problem. So if we start with our midpoint here, what do we know about these two segments? They are the same. They are congruent. Very good. So with that information, what's that going to allow us to do? Okay, so we are going to figure out our value for x here. We can set up an equation. What equation can I write? 4x plus 3 equals 7x minus 12. Those two pieces are equal. So what's interesting here is we have stuff with x, we have information with x here, but what they gave me for FH has y's in it. I cannot write an equation with x's and y's. So I have to stick to one letter first and then move on from there. All right, so we need to figure out what x is first. So I'm going to go ahead and do my letters to the left here. I'm going to subtract 7x. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. And let's see, that's going to give me 4 minus 7 is negative 3x's equals negative 15. X equals 5. Beautiful. Okay, well, that's x. Now, I know the value of x. What can I do with the value of x? Well, I can't plug it in for y because it says x is this value. Where can I plug it in? Yeah, we can plug it into one of the smaller parts for sure. We can plug it in for this x. We can plug it in for this x. They should be the same. Let's see. If I plug in a 5, 4 times 5 is 20 plus 3 is 23. And if I plug it in here, 7 times 5 is 35 minus 12 is also 23. But they should be equal. I should have known that. I could have just put the 23. Okay, good. So now our job here is to figure out y. So how are we going to write an equation to figure out what the value of y is?
6y minus 2 equals 46.
Yeah, how did you come up with 46?
Because 23 doubles is 46, and then the 6.
Good. So this applies with our segment addition postulate. Here, if I take my little piece plus my little piece, what should it equal? The big piece. And the big piece is 6y minus 2. So Natalie went ahead and added the 23 together and got 46 is equal to 6y minus 2. So we have to write an equation that involves that y. That piece plus piece equals whole there. What should I do to solve for y here? Add 2. Yeah, we can just add 2 on this one. That's the easy way. All right, so we get 48 equals 6y, and then we need to divide by 6. Good. So we get y equals 8. And that was what we were trying to answer all along. Geometry is really about figuring out relationships. And once you know the relationship, we write an equation, and then we can use that to solve and go from there, okay? So we really have to pay attention to markings and pay attention to the vocabulary, all right? Do you guys have any questions for me? What is the segment addition postulate in most simple terms? Small part plus small part equals big part. Good. What does midpoint mean? Middle, which gives us two equal things. Okay, two equal pieces. All right, very good, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. What was the homework for today? Check the calendar for